and welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. In this podcast, your host, Gloria Me, will invite a bookish guest to share their favorite book recommendation. If you share a passion for books and always looking for your next read, then join us. Welcome to the What to Read Next podcast. Today we have a bookish guest. It's Jessica from Peace Love Books BookTube and Instagram account. I've been following Jessica since 2016 and I love her recommendations. Her channel introduced me to romance, which I'm so grateful. Before we get to today's interview, I want to share that this episode is brought to you by Candlewick Press, publisher of The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea, the new YA fantasy novel by Maggie Chakuta Hall. Here's a synopsis of the book. In a world divided by colonialism and threatened with magic, a desperate orphan turned pirate and a rebellious imperial leader find connection in the high seas. The pirate Florian, born Flora, has always done whatever it takes to survive, including sailing under false flag on the Dove as a marauder, thief, and worse. Lady Evelyn Hasegawa, a highborn imperial daughter, is on board as well accompanied by her own casket. But Evelyn's one-way voyage to an arranged marriage in the floating islands is interrupted when the captain and crew show their true colors and enslave their wealthy passengers. Both Florian and Evelyn have lived their lives by the rules and whims of others, but when they fall in love, they decide to take fate in their own hands, no matter what the cost. Maggie Chakuta Hall's sweeping fantasy debut, full of steam, memories, illicit mermaid blood, double agents, and haunting mythical creatures, conjures an extraordinary cast of characters and the unforgettable story of a couple striving to stay together in the face of myriad forces, wishing them to control their identities and destinies. A bit about this book is we have Lady Evelyn, who seems to be of Japanese descent, although not explicitly stated, and she's on board a ship taking her to betroth her fiancé. She meets Florian aboard the ship, and unbeknownst to her, is actually Flora and a pirate. Flora is a POC, black, maybe Caribbean. Romance ensues, but along with that, we're also dealing with the mythical elements like mermaids and witches, the impact of colonialism, and how to take control of your destiny in a complicated world. This book has received much critical acclaim, which has been included in NPR Roundup. The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea by Maggie Chakuta Hall and published by Candlewick Press is available now wherever books are sold. Now let's go to an interview. Hi, Jessica.
Hi.
So happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I am a high school English teacher, and I live with my twin sister in Ohio. We have 2 rescue beagles. If you follow me on social media, they're all over my Instagram, so everyone knows who they are, and in my videos. I have a YouTube channel, a Bookstagram account, and an Etsy shop, and I read romance. So that's basically who I am.
I love it. Thanks to you, I started reading romance, so I have to admit it's been a joy. So I love your BookTube channel.
Thank you.
So let's start with your Etsy shop. What inspired you to get started?
I actually started making candles first. I don't know if you knew that. I've had the shop for about 2 years now, and I really like the idea of bookish candles, but they're a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I started making book sleeves while I was selling candles because there's so many book sleeves out there, and I was like, I can make this myself. I mean, because I've sewn since I was little. So I talked to my mom, and she quilts a ton, and she got me a pattern she found online for an iPad sleeve. She's like, here, use this. So I've been making them ever since. So I make book sleeves that fit a bunch of different sizes of books, and I'm obsessed with fabric, so it's nice to be able to buy as much fabric as I want because I'm selling it, so I don't keep it for myself.
Yeah, I love it. I love that you have so much variety, and you can go in the store. Like, people look forward every Sunday for your new sleeves to come out.
Yes. Yep.
So tell me, because that's like a lot of work. Like, what do you do? Like, you listen to audiobooks while you sew?
Yeah, so I started listening to audiobooks because I was sewing, because I was like, I feel like I'm wasting so much time. I was watching movies while I was sewing, but I was like, I could just be listening to audiobooks. So that's what I mainly do, and I read a lot that way.
I love it. And how do you listen to your audiobooks? Do you have like Hoopla, Audible Escape, or what services do you have?
I have Audible Escape, and I love it because it has so many romances on there, whether they're traditionally published or indie published. I did get Hoopla, but you only can go up to 2 times speed, and I listen to 2.5 or 3 times speed, so it feels really slow when I'm on Hoopla.
Okay. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I think it takes a while to work your way up to listening to a higher speed, but it's kind of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. I built my way up. I was listening at like 1.5, and now I have a,
You got
yeah.
to go to the mirror, choose faster. I love it. So when did you start reading romance?
I've always been a romance reader from what I remember. When I was reading like middle grade books in elementary school, I mean, I've always been a reader. I always loved the ones where they would like have their little crushes like on their neighbor next door, and like they were just wholesome and sweet. So like the Madison Finn books or The Amazing Days of Abby Hayes, those were middle grades I was obsessed with. And then in middle school, that's when I read YA romance. And then high school, I did adult romance and just have been reading ever since.
I love it. And what do you love about this genre?
I love the angsty romances where like it's hard for them to be together and there's just so much emotion and you want them to be together, but then you're frustrated when they don't, and it just like makes me feel so many things when I'm reading, and that's what I love about reading romance and my favorite kinds of romances.
I love it. Yeah, I think it's like sometimes you just need some angst in the book.
Yeah.
So
If it's nice and sweet, that's fine, but I like the angst.
yeah, I like sometimes the conflict for me. Like it's okay. I can do some dark moments, but it's like I cannot take it all the time. Like just
Yeah.
but I like when there's like something happens, like there's like real conflict that happens. That's what I
Yeah.
like. Like
Mm-hmm.
they can be together, they're working, like the whole process is
Yeah.
awesome. So going back to audiobooks, who's your favorite narrator?
I never noticed narrators really until Andy Arndt came out with that. I forget what it's called. It's like Heidi's Guide to.
Four-letter word, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I was like, who's Andy Arndt? And then I looked at it and realized she narrates like half the audiobooks I listen to. So I really love her audiobooks. And then I've been listening to Lauren Rose Morgan Brothers series, and she narrates her own books.
Really? Oh my
Blows
God.
my mind, and they're so good, and it has the same guy throughout the whole series too. So I've been binging that series right now, and I really love it.
Okay, so I gotta mention that series next. I love
Yeah.
it.
And it's really fun. So like during this time where it's like a little more serious, I get lost in the fun romances.
Okay, that's awesome. Now let's talk about romance tropes. What is your favorite romance trope?
Well, like I said, the angstier the better. I don't know if you would consider angst like a trope, but like love triangles, I love them. I know people hate them, but I think if a love triangle is done really well and you don't know who they're gonna pick, I love that. So like Candy Steiner has a really good series. It's like the What He Doesn't Know and What He Always Knew duet, and then she actually wrote a third book for the guy who wasn't picked, which I appreciated because you normally don't see that person get their happily ever after. Um, so I also like enemies to lovers. I think we all love enemies to lovers in the romance community. The scarred hero is also one of my favorite tropes where they have like a really bad past and they don't want to trust anybody, but then they're like a super softie on the inside. I love that kind of trope.
Yeah, I love the Star Hero trope. I think Tessa Dare does it really well.
Yes.
I think her Romancing the Duke and the Duchess Dale both have the Star Hero. They're so cute. You're
I
like,
find them a lot more in historical romances, and that's why I've been obsessed with them lately. So
yeah, I think Laura Scoundrels also has Scar Hero too.
Mhm.
So yeah, I find historical romance tend to have them more
Mhm.
than contemporary.
Yeah, so like the it's Kerrigan Burns' book, The Highwayman's the first one. I'm obsessed with that series, and I just started The Highlander in that series.
Yeah,
So they always have like the damaged hero, and I love it.
I love it. So let's talk about your least favorite romance trope. What would that be?
The one I feel like I'm in the majority here, and that is the surprise pregnancy trope. I'm just not a fan. I mean, because the conflict always comes out, well, do you love me for me or do you love me because I'm having your baby and you feel trapped in our relationship? That almost always is the conflict. And I'm just like, again, do we have to have this again?
Yeah, I like secret baby when it's just like, oops, there's a secret baby kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't like the conflict of like, do you like the child better than me? Or, that whole conflict, I really don't have the patience for it.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So you recently hosted a historical romance readathon. Do you have any historical romance recommendations?
I have a ton. I don't know if you've seen on Instagram, but I've been buying like a
Yes.
million historical romances. And I have, like I said, Kerrigan Byrne is one of my favorites. The Highwayman was one of my favorite books of last year that I read. It's very angsty, and he like takes her off to the Highlands in Scotland, and it's really good. I love Sarah McLean. I just read Day of the Duchess. I finished that this morning. And it's book 3 in the series, but I read it as a standalone. I don't like to read things in order, but they can be read as a standalone. I also love Eloisa James. So she wrote Say No to the Duke, which I loved. And I have an arc of Say Yes to the Duke, which I'm really excited for. That comes out May 19th. And I read my first Joanna Lindsay last month, and now I'm obsessed. I bought 29 of her paperbacks from eBay the other day. It was Hearts of Flame, which is like a Viking romance, which I think I would like. So, yeah, those are some of my favorites.
All right. So going on a tangent, but this will be useful for our listeners. Where do you buy your books?
I typically buy them from used websites. So I did eBay for the first time in a while a couple days ago because I've been stalking. I just typed in like Joanna Lindsay lot, and lot just means it's a group of books they're selling. So I like to check out eBay. And then Better World Books I've been buying a lot from. They have a lot of really good historicals on there that are old, so like from the 90s that they'll have there, and they're like $4, and then they always have a coupon. And then thrift books I buy a lot from too for their used books, and they're not like the best quality because they're books that are over 20 years old, but I like finding the original covers. That's why I bought the Joanna Lindsay one, because I really want her old school romance covers and not the new ones with like a tree. I want the bodice ripping couple, and so that's where I tend to look for my books.
I love it. Yeah, I haven't tried eBay, so I'm going to try that next. It's going to be dangerous.
Well, that's where I found my hardbacks of the Black Dagger Brotherhood. I got like 3, 4, 5 on eBay for super cheap, and those are not cheap books.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Okay. Thank you for the lead. All right, let's go back to regular programming. So you love dark romances, you love angsty romances. What have been some of your favorite books of this year?
I haven't read too many dark romances this year, but the few that I have, the first one, Dark Notes by Pam Goodwin. Goodwin. I always say her name wrong. Is it Goodwin?
I think Goodwin. I think.
Okay. I don't remember what her last name is, but she wrote Dark Notes, which is a girl who falls for her piano teacher, and she goes to like a performing arts high school, but she's from a very poor background, and she deals with a lot of dark things because of her background. And it's really dark, but it's really good, and like she finds that kind of like safety in the hero, and he's got his own issues and problems and dark side. So that was really good. I know that's been out for a while, and I finally got around to reading that. And then Bullseye and Blowback by Monica James came out this year, and Blowback comes out soon. I just read an arc of it. I think it comes out this upcoming week. And the main character is released from prison, and he is out for revenge, and he kind of falls for a girl that kind of stops his revenge plan. He got to figure out how he's going to get revenge while kind of falling in love with this girl. So yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. All right. So what are some of your most anticipated new releases for 2020?
There are so many. So what came to mind were books that are coming out soon. So I think you said you read it. Did you read Beach Read by Emily Henry?
No, it's been on Instagram pretty much. Okay. Most of my friends have read it and they loved it.
Yeah. That officially doesn't come out until May, but I know Book of the Month. It was the book, and I've seen it everywhere, and everybody's been reading it early, so I'm really excited for that. Also, You Had Me at Hola looks so good. How it's like telenovela inspired.
It's really good. I read it early because I interviewed Alexis for the podcast. And it's so good. It's like telenovela. There's like 2 stories. There's a telenovela storyline, which is Second Chance Romance, and then the famous people in love storyline. And then there's like great representation for Puerto Rican, Filipino, like big family, small family, second chance. There's a little bit of everything. It's really good.
I'm a huge fan of Jane the Virgin, so as soon as I heard that that was being a book, it just made me think of Jane the Virgin, and I really hope it gives me the same kind of drama that Jane the Virgin has. Did you ever watch that show?
Yes, I did. It's reminds me of Jane the Virgin. And right now, have you watched The Baker and the Beauty?
No.
Okay, it's a really good show. It's on ABC. And it's available on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good. It's like the same. I don't know. It feels the same thing of Famous in Love. Just kind of like it's a little bit of feel.
Okay, because I love that because they're just so dramatic and
Yeah.
so good. I like my drama. I do have a couple more though that I'm excited for. So I love Candy Steiner, and she writes the Palm South University series, which is like a mix of Gossip Girl and Greek, and it's about these people in college who are in fraternities and sororities, and it follows like 6 main characters, I think. And the 5th book is coming out this summer, which I'm dying for, and so that's exciting. And also Gianna Darling's Fallen Men series, that's a motorcycle romance series. The 5th book for that is coming out this year too. So
Gosh, that's amazing.
good series.
So, which your books have you read this past 3 months that you recommend?
So surprisingly, I haven't found any like contemporary romances that I've been obsessed with this year, but The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune has the most adorable romance that it's not the main plot, but it's like the subplot, and it's so wholesome and so sweet. Have you heard of the book before?
No, I have not. I think
Okay.
I've heard about TJ Klune thanks to your channel, but I haven't heard about this book. I don't think so.
He wrote Wolf Song, which is one of my favorite books of all time. That's Werewolves, and it's amazing. But The House in the Cerulean Sea's fantasy, and I've heard it's for fans of the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire. I haven't read that, so I can't tell you for sure if like that's accurate, but he is in charge of going around to orphanages for like fantastical children who have magic powers, and he needs to make sure like the orphanage is run correctly. So he's sent to this orphanage with like the most dangerous children. So like we have the son of Lucifer basically, and we have like a gnome and a kid who turns into a dog when he's scared, and like he's there to make sure that they're getting along okay, and he kind of like finds a family in them, and it's super cute. And he falls for the not owner, but like the guy who runs the orphanage. They end up falling for each other, and it's really cute.
I love it.
I also enjoy, the other two are fantasy, but they have good romances in them. So the other ones are An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tahir, which is old. I know I'm reading a lot of old books lately and finally catching up.
Mm-hmm.
And then The House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. It was really good.
Do you enjoy the House of Earth and Blood? I heard it's really good. It's just like it feels daunting. That's 800 pages for me.
It is very daunting, and the first like 100 pages are super slow, but the romance is so slow burn, and it's with an angel, and I love angel romances right now. And like it was so slow burn that his wing like brushed her back, and I was like, oh my god, give me more. Like it was so good, and I was so into that romance, and it was pretty action packed too. But as a romance reader, I like cling to the romance and fantasy.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm really surprised that Sarah J. Maas like writes really good fantasy, but I love her romance. Like she knows how to write those.
Yes, like A Court of Mist and Fury.
Oh my gosh,
I love it for the romance.
Yes, that's the romance. It's like I could not care less about the whole action pack about the houses or like what was the houses or something.
Oh.
Yeah. All the fairy world, I couldn't care less about that. I just care about the whole romance that happened in that book.
Yeah, they were the courts, right?
The courts, yeah. The night court, the winter court, and all the different courts. There were like all these wars going on.
Yes. If there's ever a dull moment with like the politics, I just start getting lost and confused. I'm like, okay, bring me back to the romance. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Have you read any good books this month?
So I've been reading Sarah MacLean's Bare Knuckle Bastard series, and it's good. So I'm almost finishing book 1 right now, and I got book 3 in the queue, so I gotta rush through them to read them. And then I read an Angsty. You might find it was definitely Angsty. It's called Hate Crush by Angelina Lopez. And it's actually Enemies to lovers, second chance romance, royal, rockstar, kind of like a bunch of tropes together. And it worked. Like, he was just groveling for most of the book. And that was actually, I found it really helpful.
Did you say royal rock star?
Yeah, he's a rock star and she's a princess.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it felt like, an author was like, let me pull like 10 tropes
Yeah,
and
that's
put
what
them
it
into one.
sounds like. I mean, I'm here for it. That sounds good.
Yeah, and then I read I Want Andrews Burn For Me, which it's urban fantasy.
Mhm.
There's romance, but it's like there's so much sexual tension, but they're like the romance and end up together. So it's not like an HEA, like it's like a series. Like you have to read like a few books in the series. There's 3 of them. So I guess it builds up on each other. But it was definitely good, like as an action packed book.
Mhm. I think I read the 4th book about a new couple in that series.
Yeah.
And it was definitely not like romance centered, but the couple was like had that chemistry and like tension between them.
Yeah. Like it was like they had the chemistry, they had the tension. I
Mhm.
think they just had a kiss and that was it. And I was like, part of me is so used to reading so much romance that there's like the whole relationship happens in a book or 2 books that I was like, okay, where's the romance? I was
Right.
like,
That's it.
it's like romance adjacent, not romance centric. Like it's not at all.
Right. I've read series where people like rave about the romance, and I read book 1. I was like, there was literally no romance in here. They're like, oh, but it's in book 2. And I'm like, why do I have to wait till book 2?
Yeah, I don't want to wait. Like I was like, it was disappointing. Like I had a friend who reads in the end of the chapter at the end of the book to see if there's a happily ever after, even though it's guaranteed because it's romance. And I was like, I wish I could have done that for this book to understand that there's no happily ever after. Like
True.
it was just like there's romance, there's something with it, it's happening, but it did not happen in the first book. So
Yeah. I mean, that way you're not disappointed or you're not
yeah, I was like, it was
romance.
disappointing.
Yeah.
Like, it lost a star because of it. I was like, I hate that I had to wait for 2 more books, and I know they're gonna get married because there's a novella for that. But it's like I hate that I have to wait to
Yeah.
like read a couple books to get
Yeah. Give us our romance now.
there. Yeah, I'm impatient. I'm like, what's the whole point? I'm reading for the romance. But it was action packed, and it was definitely, as someone who doesn't read urban fantasy, I found it really interesting.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So what books on your TBR?
I just posted my May TBR on my YouTube channel, so I have a lot I want to get to this month. The first couple are because I do have Sarah McLean's arc of that 3rd book you were talking about,
Yeah.
which I'm very excited for. I didn't read the synopsis, so I don't know who it's about, but I know I love Sarah McLean. Joanna Shoup and Eloisa James both have romances coming out over the next few months too, which are historicals. So I am excited for those 2. And then I'm going old school, so I do want to read A Knight in Shining Armor by Jude Devereaux. Have you heard of that before?
Yeah. She's like, I saw you posted on Instagram.
Yeah, so that just came in the mail like 2 days ago, and it's a time traveling romance.
Hmm.
So I love Outlander, and so any book that even sounds a little like Outlander, I'm like, yes, please, I'm gonna buy that and read it. And then I also really want to read The Bride by Julie Garwood, which is old too, and I don't remember if this one is about. It takes place in Scotland, so he has to take an English bride, and Julie Garwood I've heard amazing things about, so I really want to try hers. I read Judith McNaught for the first time this past month, and it was A Kingdom of Dreams, and it was really good, Scottish romance. So any author that's compared to her, I really want to read.
I love it. Where can we find you online?
I have my YouTube channel, which is Peace Love Books XO, and my Instagram account is the same exact username, and then I'm also on Twitter as just Peace Love Books.
Thank you, Jessica, for being on the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share with friends, subscribe, or rate and review the show. This is the easiest way to support this podcast. Want to join a romance-loving community? Want weekly book recommendations, monthly author Q&As, and book recommendation meetups? Make new friends? Then join our Patreon community. To sign up, please follow the links in the show notes. What to Read Next podcast is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts to love on frolic.media/podcast. Thank you so much for listening and have a great day.